Good morning from the Freedom of Information and Privacy Association. I'm Patrick Farnsworth, and this is your Access and Privacy Online News Summary for Saturday, January 18th. It is really great to be back. This week, we'll dive into the privacy implications for Canadians amidst growing border security measures, highlight troubling trends of cyber attacks on schools, and wrap with a look back at some major stories and FIPA activities during the break, including a sneak peek into what lies ahead. Stay tuned as we unpack these stories and more. As always, you can find the full stories in the show notes and on our website. Starting with civil society groups pushing to ensure accountability at the border. The increasing resources for Canadian Border Services Agency, or the CBSA, raises privacy concerns for travelers despite the establishment of a Public Complaints and Review Commission as a watchdog. The new commission, which will also monitor RCMP activities, builds on the existing review body for the National Police Force. Members of the public will be able to submit complaints to the commission about the conduct of a border agent or RCMP officer, or the level of service provided. Civil society groups, including our friends at the International Civil Liberties Monitoring Group, stress the importance of ensuring this watchdog has robust oversight powers to protect Canadians' rights, particularly in light of increasing surveillance technologies at the border. Currently, an internal border agency unit handles complaints from the public, while other bodies, including the courts, the Federal Privacy Commissioner, and the National Security and Intelligence Review Agency, examine various concerns. Advocates argue that without comprehensive safeguards, personal data collected at border crossings could be vulnerable to misuse, creating a need for greater accountability and transparency. This evolving situation underscores the delicate balance between security and privacy. There is an alarming trend of cyber incidents targeting Canadian schools and software providers. A disturbing wave of cyber attacks has compromised the personal data of students, teachers, and parents across Canada as well as in the United States. These breaches, often targeting third-party platforms like PowerSchool, have exposed sensitive information, including medical records and financial data like social insurance numbers. The US-based company said in a statement it has taken all appropriate steps to prevent further unauthorized access or misuse of the affected data. Provinces from Nova Scotia to Alberta have reported incidents, with school boards struggling to contain the fallout. Experts warn that outdated cybersecurity protocols in schools make them prime targets. Meanwhile, in Manitoba, the province is scrapping a centralized database for student registration costing the province $50 million, but quite possibly leaving the information less protected. This decision was unrelated to a series of recent cybersecurity incidents. The attacks all raise questions about broader systemic vulnerabilities, highlighting the urgent need for schools to enhance their cybersecurity measures to protect their communities from these persistent threats. And now turning to other stories across Canada. From Maggie McIntosh, LGI reporter at the Winnipeg Free Press. Panelists have been appointed to oversee teacher disciplinary matters in Manitoba, a move aimed at increasing transparency in the education sector while safeguarding privacy. Members of the public and employers can flag incidents to the Commissioner's office via separate forms on a new webpage. There is also a self-reporting option for certified teachers and clinicians. There were no official complaints received during the first week. However, a situation that was already known to the Education Department was reported. From Brett McKay, LGI reporter at the St. Albert Gazette, and Jack Farrell at Canadian Press, are two stories on an important study that reveals the Alberta Energy Regulator has underreported tailings spills, raising questions about accountability. Dr. Kevin Timoney, principal ecologist at Treeline Ecological Research, said there's little to no environmental data for any of the spills, with insufficient evidence supporting the cleanup aims for these spills, leaving environmental and public health concerns unresolved. According to Timoney, quote, "They don't provide any evidence. They don't provide any chemistry data, any data on animals killed, or vegetation damaged, or anything like that. Essentially, they just make these statements without any supporting evidence," end quote. One instance of data inconsistency noted in the study is a case where the regulator's public database had labeled the total volume of a spill as 44.6 million liters instead of 4.5 billion. From Ed Smith, LJI reporter at The Pointer. In St. Catharines, contamination at a former GM site slated for residential development was bound to be alarmingly high, over 1,100 times safety limits. A 2-year Freedom of Information investigation resulted in the release of the documents after city officials and GM fought to keep them from the public. On December 17th, St. Catharines was forced to comply with an order from Ontario's Information and Privacy Commissioner to release the Phase 1 and 2 environmental site assessments done by GM for the site. This underscores a recurring theme of public safety risks tied to corporate negligence. Turning to international stories, a cyber attack on Rhode Island's state health benefits website has resulted in a significant data breach, exposing personal information of residents. The leaked data includes sensitive details such as social security numbers and medical records. Officials have launched an investigation to assess the extent of the breach and implement measures to prevent future incidents. A list of impacted individuals is being worked on, and letters will be sent to those individuals affected, with instructions on how to access free credit monitoring. Rhode Islanders are being advised to take a series of steps to protect their financial information, including freezing their credit, contacting one of the reporting agencies to order a free credit report, and requesting a fraud alert be placed on credit files. This incident highlights the growing vulnerabilities in government systems that handle sensitive health and financial data, underscoring the urgent need for enhanced cybersecurity in public services. The United States Supreme Court has upheld a law that could lead to a nationwide ban on TikTok, citing concerns over privacy and national security risks associated with the platform's Chinese ownership. The decision comes amid heightened scrutiny of TikTok's data practices and its potential links to the Chinese government. Landing on Friday, we will have more details in the week ahead. The law marks a major shift in how governments address privacy and foreign influence in the digital economy, setting a precedent for other countries facing similar concerns. Content creators on the app are currently concerned for their livelihoods, as many rely on the app as a source of income, and credit it for visibility other apps did not give them. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni has confirmed that her government is exploring partnerships to strengthen national telecom security, but denied rumors of private talks with Elon Musk. Meloni reiterated that no contracts have been signed, and they're still in the investigative phase. The discussions aim to enhance Italy's technological infrastructure while addressing cybersecurity risks. Meloni says Musk's political ideologies may have something to do with the controversy. While the nature of potential agreements remain unclear, the focus on telecom security reflects broader efforts across Europe to bolster defenses against cyber threats and ensure sovereignty over critical digital infrastructure. And now here is a rundown on a few of the stories that stood out to us over the break. With the wildfires raging in California, another reminder story from the Associated Press that scammers often exploit disasters to prey on vulnerable populations. Experts urge the public to remain vigilant against fraud and cybercrime. They recommend getting a second estimate on insurance and be skeptical of anyone who promises immediate cleanup or immediate repairs. Online review sites and searches for the contractor's name with the word scam or complaints can help to confirm the license and insurance information of anyone you work with. A trio of stories highlight Chinese involvement in cybercrime and actions to hold them accountable. Japan has linked the Chinese hacking group MirrorFace to recent attacks, while the United States Treasury revealed a significant breach involving Chinese hackers accessing workstations and sensitive documents. The incident comes as U.S. officials are continuing to grapple with the fallout of a massive Chinese cyber espionage campaign that gave officials in Beijing access to private texts and phone conversations of an unknown number of Americans. In response to the Treasury breach, the U.S. sanctioned a Beijing-based cybersecurity company, while the Chinese Cybersecurity Agency complained Monday of attacks on Chinese networks. The targets of the Chinese government-led cyber attacks in Japan included Japan's foreign and defense ministries, the country's space agency, and individuals including politicians, journalists, private companies, and think tanks related to advanced technology. Italy's data protection watchdog said Friday it had fined OpenAI 15 million euros, or $15.6 million US, after wrapping up a probe into the collection of personal data by the U.S. artificial intelligence company's popular chatbot ChatGPT. The find comes after an investigation launched last year also found that OpenAI didn't provide an adequate age verification system to prevent users under 13 years of age from being exposed to inappropriate AI-generated content. The Italian authority also ordered OpenAI to launch a 6-month campaign on different Italian media to raise awareness about ChatGPT, specifically regarding data collection. Tesla's cooperation with law enforcement raised questions about the broader privacy implications of smart vehicle data. In the recent Tesla Cybertruck explosion, the use of charging stations and onboard software meant Tesla was able to track the driver's movements in detail from Denver to Las Vegas, and also confirmed that the problem was explosives in the truck, not the truck itself. Myanmar's military rulers have enacted a sweeping cybersecurity law that imposes extensive censorship and surveillance measures. The legislation grants authorities broad powers to monitor internet activity, restrict access to information, and control online communication under the pretext of national security. It says the authorities can investigate, control, block, and shut down digital platform services and electronic information for the public good and state's security, and action will also be taken against Myanmar citizens abroad who violate any of the law's provisions. It says those who establish a VPN or provide VPN services without obtaining the permission of the ministry shall be imprisoned for 1 month to 6 months or a fine of 1 million kyats, which is $476, to 10 million kyats, which is $4,760. Critics warn that the law will severely curtail freedom of expression and privacy, targeting dissent and opposition voices. This move is part of a broader trend of digital authoritarianism, raising international concerns about human rights and the suppression of democracy in Myanmar. To close out the year, we brought you a series of discussions with the staff who work on major activities here, as well as a look ahead into 2025. Jerica Karuhara spoke about pathways to precarity and the intersection of access to information and citizenship. Gage Smith spoke about the impacts from the Office of the Special Interlocutor report. Ryan Rutley reviewed leading and trailing language and his work on FIPA's foreign interference submission. And Spencer Eisen gave us a sneak peek into his work in access assessments. And then most recently, Jason Woywada and Mike Larson looked into the FIPA crystal ball to discuss the year ahead. We've linked all of these in our show notes for this episode and are looking forward to a great year ahead. That brings us to the end of this episode of Access and Privacy Online. Remember, FIPA is hosting a virtual gathering on January 22nd to discuss new legislation impacting Alberta's access and privacy laws. Register on Eventbrite for insights from Commissioner Diane McLeod and an expert panel discussion. Thank you for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe or consider a donation to help us keep the mics on. Stay safe, stay informed, and we'll see you next time.